An unexpected accident. I died in the 7th year of my tumultuous marriage filled with mad love and hate for Gu Qinghan. When the kidnapper's knife plunged into my body, I tremblingly called Gu Qinghan, begging her to save me, but on the other end of the line only a cold voice rang out. "What is it? Did you call to share the good news that you're dead?" Right after those cruel words, the call was mercilessly disconnected. I closed my eyes in excruciating pain. In the final moments of my life, I thought, if there's a next life, I will never love Gu Qinghan again. When I opened my eyes again, Gu Qinghan was sitting on top of me. She leaned down, toying with my Adam's apple. Her long, slender fingers tightened around my neck, her thumb pressed right against my carotid artery. That action didn't resemble lovemaking at all. It was more like she wanted to strangle me to death. I used all my strength to shove her away. She fell back onto the bed, coldly questioning Sumubai. "What are you going crazy about now?" I had no mind to pay her any attention. I hurriedly grabbed my phone to check the date. I was really reborn. Reborn not long after marrying Gu Qinghan. For a moment, my mind went blank. Before I could even react, Gu Qinghan's phone rang. A familiar voice came from the other end. "Qinghan, when are you coming to pick me up? Didn't you promise to go to the movies with me?" Hearing Yang Taiwei's voice, Gu Qinghan's voice softened to coax him, while she immediately stood up and got dressed. "You'll be right there." I finally came back to my senses and grabbed her wrist tightly, my voice still trembling slightly. "Gu Qinghan, wait for me for 20 minutes. I have something very important to do." Gu Qinghan frowned and shook my hand off, saying coldly, "What are you trying to pull now? You demanded I sleep with you before I could go see Tai Wei. Now I've done it. Are you planning to go back on your word?" I took a deep breath and said firmly, word by word, "Gu Qinghan, I want a divorce from you." Gu Qinghan was stunned for a moment, then she let out a cold laugh. "Sumubai, what trick are you playing now? I'm not playing any tricks this time. I really want to divorce you." After speaking, I took out my phone. My fingers tapped quickly on the screen, sending a message to the lawyer. After sending the message, I turned the phone screen towards her so she could clearly see the cold text. "Lawyer Kwang, I want a divorce. Draft a divorce agreement for me immediately." Gu Qinghan stared at the message, her eyes narrowing slightly. I looked at the face I had been madly in love with for so many years. Looking at it now, I only felt a heart-wrenching pain. I have loved Gu Qinghan since kindergarten. I loved her for a full 20 years. Back then, I was like an inseparable little tail, always tagging along behind her, but she never paid me any mind, always walking coldly ahead, sparing not even a glance for me. There were too many boys at school who liked her, and I was too foolish. I didn't know how to get her attention, so I could only find ways to antagonize her. When she was on cleaning duty, I would throw trash in the area she was responsible for. When she gave a speech, I would make funny faces in the audience to distract her. When she played ball, I would secretly let the air out of her bicycle tires. It went on like this. We became the school's famous pair of rivals, I thought. Even if she didn't like me, at least she wouldn't like anyone else, as long as I could see her every day. I was content, but that thought completely shattered. The day Yang Taiwei appeared, I will never forget that rainy day. I came home from school as usual, and saw my father openly embracing a strange woman. Next to them was a boy my age, that was Yang Taiwei. My father brought the mother and son into the house and stubbornly declared to my mother, "This is my first love." I was useless back then, so my family separated us. Now that I'm successful, I must fulfill this unfinished dream. Even though she's had a child with another man, I have to divorce you, to marry her. He spoke every word callously, leaving no room for retreat. My mother, who deeply loved my father, cried all night when morning came. While no one was paying attention, she threw herself from the rooftop. It hadn't even been a week since my mother's death. My father had already rushed to bring his first love home. From then on, I hated that father to the bone. I hated his first love, and I despised my stepbrother, Yang Taiwei, even more. But I never expected that the most painful betrayal was yet to come. That day, I went to the library to find Gu Qinghan and saw her and Yang Taiwei sitting in a corner. She was leaning on Yang Taiwei's shoulder, gently kissing the corner of his lips. In that moment, my world came crashing down. Later, Grandfather Gu fell gravely ill and forced Gu Qinghan to marry me. After we got married, Gu Qinghan happened to discover thousands of sketches I had drawn of her and realized I had been secretly in love with her for all these years. But she wasn't moved at all. Instead, she thought I had deliberately incited her grandfather to force her to marry me. From then on, our marriage turned into a battlefield. Gu Qinghan released sky lanterns for Yang Taiwei, so I smashed his limited edition supercar. Gu Qinghan took Yang Taiwei on vacation, so I had all the hotels in the city refuse to serve Gu Qinghan. She threw a lavish birthday party for Yang Taiwei, so I stuffed cockroaches and centipedes into the cake. Eventually, we reached an agreement. Gu Qinghan could go see Yang Taiwei, but each time she went, she had to sleep with me once. I laughed and said to her, "Gu Qinghan, let's just torment each other like this for the rest of our lives." But only I knew. This so-called torment was only because I loved her too much and couldn't bear to let go. But it wasn't until I died once that I truly understood. Some loves are destined to not have a happy ending. So in this life, I will let go to let Gu Qinghan, Yang Taiwei, and all that heart-wrenching pain disappear completely from my life. Soon, a lawyer in a neat suit walked in. Miss Gu, Mr. To, this is the divorce agreement. The lawyer placed the document on the table. Please have a look. Gu Qinghan knew I once loved her to death and back, so she didn't believe I wanted a divorce at all. She was leisurely waiting to see how I would end this act, but unexpectedly, in the next second, I signed my name without the slightest hesitation. She was startled and immediately grabbed the agreement. Her eyes scanned the clauses. Sumabai, are you serious? Her voice suddenly became tense. I turned around, a mocking smile played on my lips. Of course, truer than gold? What's wrong, Xiao Gu? Can't bear it apart? Can't bear it? Gu Qinghan looked as if she had heard a joke. Su Mubai, this marriage is hell for me. Every second with you is torment and misery. Then sign it, I said lightly. What are you waiting for? Hearing that, Gu Qinghan's expression turned completely icy. She snatched the fountain pen and signed her name on the agreement decisively. The force of her pen radiated ruthlessness. She coldly threw the agreement in front of me. Su Mubai, you remember this clearly? This was your choice. Don't you dare regret it? The lawyer took back the signed document and said in a professional tone, according to the law, a divorce agreement requires 1 month after the cooling-off period ends. Both parties can then officially receive the divorce certificate. If you regret it within this month, you can withdraw the application at any time. Hearing this, Gu Qinghan sneered, staring at me with a disdainful gaze. Withdraw the application at any time? So this is where you were waiting for me? It was as if she had seen through something, she declared with certainty. Su Mubai, in 1 month, if you actually dare to go through with the divorce, you'll cut off my head and let you use it as a soccer ball. After saying that, she turned and left. Her slender back was cold and distant, as if she was certain I would regret it at the last minute. I watched her back and let out a faint, cold smile. Gu Qinghan, you're wrong. Not only will I really get a divorce, but in 1 month, I will leave this city and disappear completely from your world. In the following days, I ignored everything and just stayed home packing my bags. Meanwhile, Gu Qinghan was with Yang Taiwei. The sweet, intimate moments between them were constantly flaunted on social media. They walked together on the beach, kissed sweetly under the sunset, enjoyed a romantic candlelight dinner at a mountain restaurant, made wishes before the fireworks, walked hand in hand through the streets, choosing beautiful, well-fitting clothes for each other. Under each post were countless likes and comments. Sister Gu and Taiwei are traveling again? Why are you two like on a honeymoon every day? Showing off your love online every day? I don't even need to eat. Your public displays of affection are enough to fill me up. Someone who sees this every day must be grinding their teeth with jealousy, right? Too bad he's destined to be a bitter, scorned man for his entire life. He will never win Sister Ka's heart. I knew Gu Qinghan was posting these things deliberately to provoke me. In my past life, she succeeded. Every time I saw them, I was filled with jealousy and pain, to the point where I suffered from insomnia every night. But now, seeing them, my heart is numb, without a single ripple, because I had already chosen to let go. Gu Qinghan and I will soon never meet again. 3 days later, the Gu family held their usual family banquet. In the past, I would have never attended, but this time I went. When I arrived at the villa, everyone from the Gu family had already gathered. The hall was extremely lively. Gu Qinghan was leading Yang Taiwei around, warmly greeting the elders. The children also surrounded them, calling them uncle and aunt. Both of them smiled in response. I watched from afar, a hint of mockery in my eyes. I am clearly Gu Qinghan's husband. But aside from Gu Qinghan's deceased grandfather, no one in the Gu family acknowledged my status. They all thought I had stolen Yang Taiwei's place, so they always looked at me with cold eyes, without a friendly expression. In the past, I didn't want to embarrass myself either, and wouldn't attend these kinds of gatherings, but coming this time, I finally learned that in places I couldn't see, they were already like a family, happy and harmonious together. I pushed open the door and entered the main hall. Everyone heard the sound and turned around. Seeing me, the smiles on their faces vanished. Gu Qinghan's parents scowled at me, their tone filled with dissatisfaction. Didn't you say you wanted to divorce Qinghan? What are you doing showing your face here now? Yang Taiwei looked straight at me. A faint smile on his face, he deliberately spoke in a mocking tone. This isn't the first time my brother has caused a scene like this. It's always a lot of thunder, but little rain, and afterward, he begs Qinghan to come back. I'm sick of watching this act. He never gets tired of performing it. Gu Qinghan, hearing their words, frowned at me. Her voice was ice cold. Although we are in the cooling-off period now, the agreement has been signed. You are no longer a member of the Gu family. You have no right to set foot in here. Gu Qinghan's relatives also threw me disdainful looks and joined in the mockery. If the old master hadn't played matchmaker back then, how could Qinghan have possibly married him? She and Taiwei are a perfect match, a talented man and a beautiful woman. He ruined their beautiful destiny. That's right, Qinghan never liked him. He just loves playing these push-and-pull games. Such a dark heart, truly despicable. I looked at the Gu family members who were treating me coldly, spouting venomous mockery. A chill ran through my body. I clenched my fists, trying to suppress the surging emotions within me. I scanned the crowd coldly. You don't have to be like this. I didn't come today for a family banquet. I'm in no mood for it either. I came to pay my respects to grandfather, to light an incense stick for him, and then leave immediately. Hearing this request, everyone had no reason to chase me away, so they had to coldly make way. I went to the ancestral hall alone. After paying my respects to grandfather, I took the wedding gift, the family heirloom he gave me, and placed it on his urn, grandfather. My voice was a whisper, dissolving into the air, as if afraid to disturb his eternal sleep. You once said that as long as I married Gu Qinghan, I would have a companion for life. A bitter smile formed on my lips, but you didn't tell me that being tormented by the one you love most is more painful than being alone. Gu Qinghan doesn't like me. Our marriage, she only sees it as a form of torture. I died too tragically in my last life, so in this life, I've decided to let go. Don't worry, grandfather. My life is still long. In this life, I will live very, very well. I sat before the memorial tablet for a long time, voicing many of my heartfelt thoughts. Suddenly, the sound of leather shoes echoed from behind me. I slowly turned around and saw Yang Taiwei striding over. I couldn't be bothered with him and was about to get up and leave when Yang Taiwei sneered and snatched the jade pendant from the urn. Before I could react, I saw Yang Taiwei grab Grandfather Ke's memorial tablet, smash it on the ground, crack the sandalwood tablet shattered to pieces. I felt the blood freeze in my veins. I shot forward like an arrow and grabbed Yang Taiwei's wrist tightly. Are you insane? Apologize to grandfather right now. Yang Taiwei contemptuously shook my hand off. His lips curled into a venomous smile. Apologize? Apologize to whom? Does this old geezer deserve it? If it weren't for him meddling, the position of Mr. Gu would have been mine long ago. Yang Taiwei. My voice trembled. This is the grandfather that Gu Qinghan respected the most. Gu Qinghan, if she knew you treated him like this, she would surely realize how blind she's been. Faced with my scolding, Yang Taiwei not only showed no remorse, but grew even more smug. Is that so? You respect this damn old man so much, so why doesn't Qinghan like you even a little bit? Su Mu Bai. You're just like your mother, pathetic and tragic. You might as well just jump off a building and get it over with. Your mother is probably waiting for you in heaven. Every word he said was like boiling oil poured on my heart, igniting a furious rage within me, especially when I heard him insult my mother. I couldn't hold it in any longer and swung my arm, punching him hard in the face. The smile on Yang Taiwei's face froze. He never expected I would dare to hit him. It was the first time in his life he had been so humiliated. His face turned pale with anger. He lunged at me like a madman, grabbing my tie, and started a messy fight with me. But he was usually spoiled and was no match for me at all. Several times he tried to throw a punch, but I threw him to the ground each time. Yang Taiwei, humiliated, became enraged and directly picked up Grandfather Ke's urn, smashing it against my head. In an instant, a deep, bloody gash was torn open on my forehead. The pain was so intense I couldn't open my eyes. I collapsed to the ground, the ashes scattered everywhere, soaked by my fresh blood. I lay in a pool of blood. A desperate and pained groan escaped my throat. Such a loud noise quickly attracted everyone from the main hall. Seeing this chaotic scene, along with the shattered urn and the memorial tablet, everyone's expression changed. Gu Qinghan's face was as dark as a thundercloud. Her gaze was as cold as ice and snow. Su Mu Bai, what chaos are you causing now? This is the ancestral hall? Is this how you pay respects to grandfather? I was in too much pain to speak. In contrast, Yang Taiwei put on a pitiful act and was quick to tattle first. Qinghan, I thought the jade pendant he was wearing was very beautiful, so I wanted to borrow it for a look, but he raised his hand and punched me. I was going to hit back, but he grabbed grandfather's urn and tablet and threw them at me. I wanted to dodge, so I gave him a push. Who knew he would fall down like that? After hearing his story, Gu Qinghan and her family looked at me. Their eyes looked like they wanted to turn into knives and chop me into 100 pieces. Instantly, everyone cursed and condemned me. Someone even demanded to bring out the family discipline rod to punish this utterly despicable behavior of mine. Gu Qinghan waved her hand. A servant immediately presented the family discipline whip, soaked in tung oil. The rattan whip, causing a disturbance in the ancestral hall, is the first crime. Destroying an elder's memorial tablet in ashes is the second crime. Attacking a guest without reason is the third crime. The crimes will be punished together. Gu Qinghan, I shot my head up, my eyes burning with rage. You didn't even bother to ask. Before I could finish my sentence, first lash landed, cracking hard against my back, cutting off the words I was about to say. The pain made me tremble, but I still stubbornly clenched my teeth. It was obviously Yang Taiwei who furs. Crack! I struggled to get up, but two bodyguards pressed my shoulders down firmly. I roared with bloodshot eyes. Gu Qinghan, are you blind? It was obviously him. 30 lashes! The executioner shouted. The whip was like a venomous snake, tearing at my back. Fresh blood quickly soaked through my shirt. The pain made my vision go dark, but I still stubbornly held my head high, staring daggers at Gu Qinghan. 45. I saw Gu Qinghan gently adjusting Yang Taiwei's tie. That careful gesture was as if she were handling a rare treasure. This scene was more painful than the whip on my body, causing the metallic taste of blood to rise in my throat. 60. The final lash landed. I finally couldn't take it anymore and collapsed to the ground. Before I lost consciousness, I heard Gu Qinghan's cold voice. "Throw him out. Don't dirty the ancestral hall's floor." When I opened my eyes again, I found myself lying on the cold, large bed in the villa. It was quiet all around, but the searing pain from my back reminded me. Those 60 lashes were not a nightmare. It was a punishment given to me by Gu Qinghan herself. I smirked faintly. I wanted to sit up, but I accidentally moved my wound. I couldn't help but gasp in pain. My eyes were already red. This was the woman I had loved for 12 years. I struggled to get up and tremblingly bandaged myself, antiseptic and gauze. When they touched the wound, I bit my lip hard until I tasted the metallic tang of blood. I refused to cry out loud. By the time I finished treating the wound, sweat had soaked through my pajamas, leaving dark patches on the bed sheets. For the entire following week, I was like a soulless corpse, only able to lie in bed. The wounds on my back had just begun to scab over. The slightest movement would tear them open again, and during this time, Gu Qinghan didn't come back to see me even once. On the contrary, Yang Taiwei's messages kept seeping in like snake venom. Qinghan took me to an auction today. She won the most expensive diamond watch and gave it to me. Don't you think the design is beautiful? In 2 days, it's our 6th anniversary of knowing each other. She's specially prepared a yacht party to celebrate. Not only that, there's also a pair of couple rings she designed herself as a gift for me. I emotionlessly dismissed these messages and quietly packed up everything related to Gu Qinghan. The photos I secretly took of her, the unsent love letters from my youth, the things I bought for her, along with the white dress she never wore. I laughed self-deprecatingly, packed it all up and threw it all in the trash. Just then, the bedroom door was suddenly pushed open. Gu Qinghan walked in, just in time to see the things I was throwing away. A cold glint flashed in her eyes. "Are you still playing hard to get at this point? You even deliberately chose to throw things out when I got home. You really go to great lengths, don't you?" I didn't look up. I continued throwing things away. "Whether I'm putting on a show or not, you'll know in 15 days. You remember it so clearly?" She sneered. "Surely you haven't been counting down the days, have you?" "That's right." I finally looked up. A genuine smile, unseen for a long time, appeared on my pale face. "I've been counting down every day, looking forward to the day I'm completely free of you." Hearing this, Gu Qinghan's expression instantly darkened. She strode over, her eyes filled with contempt, and glared at me. "Sumubai, do you think I'll believe you?" "Believe it or not, it's up to you." I looked straight into her eyes. My voice was very soft, but it carried a sense of determination. "Gu Qinghan, this time, I really don't want you anymore." For some reason, seeing the resolute look in my eyes, Gu Qinghan's heart suddenly trembled. Just as she was about to speak, Yang Taiwei happened to video call her. Gu Qinghan stared at the person in front of her for a long time. In the end, she chose not to waste any more time on me and turned to go into the study. After I finished packing everything up, I took my bag and left the house. Today is my birthday. My close buddies organized a birthday party for me, as they do every year. With them laughing and joking around, I gradually forgot about my recent troubles and smiled from the heart. But the happy moment didn't last long, as we were about to cut the cake. The door to the private room was suddenly shoved open. Gu Qinghan walked in with Yang Taiwei and her group of close friends. Her friends looked around, their faces full of mockery. "Having a birthday party, are we?" "Sorry, we're taking over this place. Could you please get the hell out now?" Facing these uninvited guests, my hand holding the champagne glass paused, my knuckles turning white. Seeing the unconcealed malice on their faces, I knew they came here to cause trouble on purpose, deliberately trying to ruin my peaceful birthday. My buddies understood it too, but to protect me, they didn't back down. "Please look carefully. We reserved this place first. If anyone should get out, it's you." Seeing that they dared to talk back, the women burst out laughing and directly pulled out a contract, slamming it down in front of them. "Look carefully. Miss Gu has already bought this building. Whoever she wants to kick out, she can kick out. If you know what's good for you, get out on your own before you're thrown out like trash." My friends were furious. They were about to argue back. I quickly pulled them back. I looked up at Gu Qinghan. "A sale doesn't affect a lease. There are still many empty rooms in the clubhouse." Gu Qinghan said nothing. Instead, Yang Taiwei beside her spoke up first. "I'm sorry, I only like this room." Then he linked his arm with Gu Qinghan's and whined coquettishly. "Qinghan, I like the decor in this room. Kick them out." Gu Qinghan didn't even look up. Clear the scene. As soon as she finished speaking, the others immediately took action and started wrecking the entire room. The balloons my friends had painstakingly prepared were stomped on and popped. Fresh flowers were trampled on the ground. The cake was thrown against the wall, smearing cream all over it. My photo. "Stop it, Gu Qinghan! Are you insane?" My buddies' curses rang out incessantly. I couldn't hold back anymore and rushed forward, wanting to protect the last group photo, but I was forcefully pushed away. In the chaos, someone bumped into me. I stumbled and fell towards Yang Taiwei. Yang Taiwei screamed dramatically. Gu Qinghan's gaze turned icy. She immediately pulled Yang Taiwei behind her protectively, and stretched out a hand to shove me hard. I lost my balance, and my whole body crashed into the champagne tower beside me. Crash! Hundreds of glass flutes came tumbling down like a rain of glass. Chilled wine mixed with fresh blood, soaking through my suit. The pain of glass shards digging into my flesh made my vision go black. Throw him out! Gu Qinghan's voice was as cold as cracking ice. Two men grabbed my hair and dragged me out to the steps. The impact left me covered in blood. Fresh blood soaked my clothes, forming a small, dark red stream on the ground. My vision began to blur. My ears were ringing. Before I lost consciousness, the last thing I saw was Gu Qinghan, gently fixing Yang Taiwei's messy hair, that careful gesture, as if she were handling a rare treasure. I don't know how much time passed. When I woke up, I found myself in the hospital. My buddies were watching over me. In their eyes as they looked at me was a look full of indignation and resentment. Mubai, are you really not considering a divorce? The way Gu Qinghan treated you on your birthday? That's not how a married couple acts. She basically treats you like an enemy. Do you really still want to live with her? I lowered my gaze and unconsciously stroked the gauze on my arm. It was still throbbing with a dull ache, just like my wounded heart. I'm not going to. My voice was weary. I've already filed for divorce in a little over 10 days. The cooling off period will be over. Once I get the divorce certificate, it'll be completely free. Really? My buddies exclaimed in unison, excitedly grabbing my hand. That's great. You've finally come to your senses. You're so tall and handsome. For all these years, you've given her your all, but she only has eyes for that Yang Taiwei. She's truly blind and heartless. It's so good that you've seen the light and are ending things with Gu Qinghan. Let me tell you, with your looks and status, what kind of woman couldn't you get? After your divorce, he'll introduce you to 100 top-tier beauties. Figures you want, you'll get. Looks you want, you'll get. Then you can date whoever you want. They teased me without reservation, not hearing the footsteps approaching from outside the door until the door was shoved open. I looked up and met Gu Qinghan's cold, distant eyes. She sneered, 100 top-tier beauties, huh? Sumubai, are you that desperate? I never expected her to suddenly show up here. I was stunned for a moment, then quickly regained my composure. Whether I'm desperate or not has nothing to do with you. I never interfered when you went to see Yang Taiwei, so whether I go on blind dates with women or not and how many I meet has nothing to do with you. Gu Qinghan stared at me. A vexed look appeared in her eyes. It's true. It has nothing to do with me, but I advise you to wait until after we get the divorce certificate to go on dates. Otherwise, I'll find it disgusting. I didn't show any weakness either. I nodded in complete agreement. Right? I plan to go after getting the papers. Ayun, when the time comes, remember to set me up with 7 great beauties. I'll meet one a day, a different one for the whole week. Seeing me dare to play along and indulge in wishful thinking, an inexplicable anger surged in Gu Qinghan's heart. She pulled out the asset division agreement that I had my lawyer send her not long ago and threw it hard at me. Then it'll wait for the divorce day. On that day, you'd better show up on time with your 7 beauties and hand me the divorce papers yourself. After leaving these words, she left without a backward glance. Watching her retreating back, I picked up the agreement and checked it over, confirming she had divided half the assets to me. Then I tidied up the agreement and put it in my bag. After seeing my buddies off, I handed the thick stack of agreements to my lawyer, sell all the real estate, luxury cars, yachts, and stocks I was given, and convert it to cash. Watching the numbers in my account gradually increase, my heart slowly found peace. With this money, the rest of my life will be stable and prosperous. For the next few days, I stayed in the hospital to recover. On the day of my discharge, I went home alone and saw Gu Qinghan and Yang Taiwei in the living room, kissing as if no one was watching. Under the warm yellow light, Yang Taiwei held Gu Qinghan in his arms. Gu Qinghan's slender fingers gently caressed his cheek, bending down to kiss him passionately. That gentleness was something I had never received in 12 years. Slam! I slammed the door shut, startling the engrossed couple. Gu Qinghan turned her head. The tenderness in her eyes, after seeing who it was, instantly froze over. What are you throwing a tantrum about now? I leaned against the door, my nails digging deep into my palms, yet a sarcastic smile played on my lips. Can I be disgusted? Disgusted? Gu Qinghan sneered. Her thumb brushed over Yang Taiwei's slightly swollen lips. Then how you used to cling to me begging for a kiss, wasn't that even more disgusting? I chuckled softly. That's right. I was blind back then. I looked up, my gaze as clear as water, but now my eyes are open, so I raised 3 fingers and word by word. I, Sumubai, swear that if I ever love Gu Qinghan again, I will die a horrible death. Gu Qinghan's pupils contracted. Her heart felt as if it had been squeezed by someone. She never expected me to make such a vicious oath. An unknown fire raged in her chest. Qinghan, Yang Taiwei tugged at her sleeve and said aggrievedly, I'm hungry. Gu Qinghan took a deep breath, suppressing the irritating feeling in her heart. She gently patted Yang Taiwei's head. Okay, I'll go cook for you. As she turned, the corner of her eye caught my back as I went upstairs without a single glance back. That decisiveness made her feel inexplicably annoyed. In the kitchen, she absent-mindedly chopped vegetables. The words die, a horrible death echoed endlessly in her ears. The sharp blade almost cut her fingertip. For the next few days, I didn't leave the house at all. Until the day before the divorce, cooling off period ended, my high school classmates happened to organize a reunion. Thinking this might be the last time we'd meet, I decided to go see my old classmates. The moment I pushed open the private room door, familiar sounds of laughter and chatter rushed out. Mubai, the class president, was the first to spot me. I stood up happily. "You're finally here?" I smiled and nodded in greeting. As soon as I sat down in an empty seat, the classmates around me eagerly gathered. "Mubai, I heard you married Gu Qinghan. Is that for real?" "You two were like fire and water in high school." That's right, that's right. You two used to argue whenever you met. How did you suddenly get married? It must be a rumor, right? My fingers unconsciously traced the rim of my wine glass. The cold sensation sobered me up a little. I smirked and gave a calm smile. "We did get married, but we're in the process of divorcing now." This sentence was like an iceberg dropped into boiling water in the room. It went completely silent at once. The classmates looked at each other. The smiles on their faces froze. Someone cleared their throat awkwardly. Someone looked down and pretended to drink. The atmosphere felt frozen. After a long while, someone sighed. "What a pity." The only couple from our class that actually made it, someone else couldn't help but blurt out, "Why the sudden divorce? Didn't you really like Gu Qinghan?" Back then, others might not have noticed, but I saw it clearly. You were always picking fights with her. Wasn't that just to get her attention? Who says others didn't notice? I saw it too. Me too. I was stunned. I never thought the feelings I had hidden for so many years were seen so clearly by so many classmates. How did you guys figure it out? This question was like opening the floodgates of memory. The classmates immediately started chiming in. Isn't it obvious? In 11th grade, a few girls were jealous of Gu Qinghan for being the school belle, and being first in the grade, they were secretly spreading rumors about her behind her back. When you heard about it, you went straight for them and punched each one of them. We were scared to death by your ferocity. There was something even more extreme. When your mother passed away, you were a complete wreck. But as soon as you heard Gu Qinghan was in an accident and needed a blood transfusion, you didn't say a word and rushed to the hospital. You insisted on giving so much blood that you passed out. And another thing, on our 12th grade graduation trip, Gu Qinghan's camera fell into the lake. It contained important competition materials. You just jumped in without a second thought. That was a lake in the middle of winter. You ended up in the hospital with a fever for a full half-month after that, didn't you? If that isn't being head over heels in love, who would jump in? Hearing these long-buried old stories being brought up one by one, I just felt a tightness in my chest. The youthful feelings I had deliberately forgotten now flashed before my eyes like a revolving lantern. I gripped the wine glass tightly, my knuckles turning white. My throat felt like it was blocked by something. I couldn't say a word. "Excuse me?" I stood up hastily. "I'm going to the restroom for a bit. I'll wash my face and be right back." Just as I was about to push open the private room door, I saw Gu Qinghan standing at the entrance, looking at me with a complicated expression. The things they just said. Her voice was low, as if echoing from deep within her chest. "Is it all true?" As if squeezed by an invisible hand, I forced a cold smile. "True or not, does it matter? After all, the person you love is Yang Taiwei, isn't that right?" Gu Qinghan frowned so slightly it was almost imperceptible. I didn't wait for her to answer. I turned sideways and slipped past her. I've already seen my old classmates now that Gu Qinghan was here. I didn't want to stay any longer, so after a brief farewell to my classmates, I left alone. But just as I stepped out of the hotel, Gu Qinghan's car was parked right in front of me. The car window slowly rolled down, revealing Gu Qinghan's delicate profile. "Get in." Her voice was devoid of emotion. "I have something to talk to you about." I silently opened the back door. A faint scent of cedarwood lingered in the car. It was the scent I was once most captivated by. But now, smelling this familiar fragrance, my heart no longer felt a single ripple. We were clearly in the same space, but it was as if an invisible wall separated us. For a long time, neither of us spoke, until the familiar villa complex came into view. Gu Qinghan finally spoke up, about the divorce. Her long, slender fingers tightened on the steering wheel as she spoke. "Just how long are you going to keep this up?" Her tone carried a hint of impatience I'd never heard before. I was stunned, then I laughed coldly. "What am I keeping up? Gu Qinghan, do you not understand human language? I'll tell you one more time, I really want." A shrill ringtone cut me off. Gu Qinghan answered the call. Yang Taiwei's sobs immediately echoed throughout the car. "Qinghan, I'm at UC, room 1201. Come save me, quick." Gu Qinghan's expression changed abruptly. She yanked the steering wheel hard. The tires screeched against the pavement. She comforted Yang Taiwei on the other end, while frantically running more than 10 red lights. The speedometer needle kept climbing. The car screeched to a halt in front of UC. Gu Qinghan practically burst out of the car. I ran after her, straight up to the 12th floor. What greeted us was a meticulously arranged confession scene. Rose petals were scattered all over the floor. Candles flickered. In the corner, Yang Tai-wei stood trembling, huddled in a corner. His expensive suit was crumpled like a rag. In front of him was a person in a long dress, with a completely crazed expression. The fruit knife in her hand glinted coldly under the lights. Her voice was hoarse. Tai-wei, Gu Qinghan is already married. She can't give you a proper status. I've pursued you for so many years. Why won't you give me a chance? If you don't agree to be with me today, we'll die here together. When he saw Gu Qinghan at the door, Yang Tai-wei was like a drowning man grasping at straws. Qinghan, you're finally here? Qiaona is forcing me to be her boyfriend. I won't agree, so she's threatening to kill me. Please save me. The person heard the voice and turned. The moment she saw Gu Qinghan, her eyes widened suddenly. Her emotions grew even more agitated. Gu Qinghan, don't you come here, or don't blame me for being merciless with you. Gu Qinghan wasn't afraid of her at all, but she was afraid Qiaona would hurt Yang Tai-wei. I could only raise my hands and take a few steps back, trying to keep my voice calm. Qiaona, I know you like Tai-wei, but he doesn't like you. Using this method to force him won't bring happiness to either of you. Hearing her words of persuasion, Qiaona's eyes turned red. The hand holding the knife trembled. The tip of the knife pointed towards me behind him. She sneered. Well said. You don't love Su Mubai, yet you still married him, didn't you? If you could endure living a lifetime with Su Mubai, then why can't Tai-wei marry me? Gu Qinghan's expression turned serious. Her voice became cold. It's precisely because I know what it's like to marry someone you don't love that I want to tell you. It's not the right thing to do, that person. After getting married, every minute, every second is like a prison. It imprisons you tightly. You can't escape even with all your strength. You like Tai-wei. Do you really want to force him to marry you and suffer the same immense pain as me, living a life of sharing a bed but having different dreams? I stood in the shadows, my nails digging into my palms. I knew all too well that this marriage was a prison for her, but hearing her say it with my own ears, that every moment with me was torture, my heart still ached as if a piece had been carved out. But these words didn't convince Qiaona. Seeing that Yang Tai-wei remained silent, Qiaona's eyes gradually became crazed. Her patience had reached its limit. I won't listen to this. I only know that I want Yang Tai-wei. If you don't agree to be with me, then let's die together. The tip of Qiaona's knife glinted coldly. She suddenly changed direction and stabbed straight at Yang Tai-wei. In that critical moment, Gu Qinghan rushed forward without hesitation, shielding Yang Tai-wei. I saw the knife stab into her lower abdomen. Fresh blood instantly stained the long white dress I had ironed myself. Qinghan Yang Tai-wei let out a heart-wrenching scream. Gu Qinghan's face instantly turned pale. Her forehead was beaded with sweat, but she still held Qiaona's wrist tightly, her knuckles white from the force, until the police broke down the door and rushed in, subduing Qiaona. Only then could she no longer hold on, heavily collapsing to the ground, but she still didn't forget to protect Yang Tai-wei behind her. Yang Tai-wei hugged her tightly, crying miserably. Qinghan, don't die. You can get divorced tomorrow. We'll soon be able to be together openly. Can you please hang in there? Gu Qinghan smirked, looking up at me standing not far away. Her tone was full of sarcasm. Su Mubai, the one who refuses to divorce. He won't divorce me. He's just been putting on an act all this time. Tai-wei, I love you. If there's a next life, I will definitely choose. You? I won't compromise with Grandpa anymore. I stood rooted to the spot, watching this scene, biting my lip hard. Even at a time like this, she still thinks I'm putting on an act. Gu Qinghan, you are so wrong. When the operating room light went off, it was already 3 in the morning. The doctor took off his mask and said tiredly, the wound isn't deep. She was brought in just in time. She'll recover after a month of rest. I stood at the end of the hallway, watching Yang Tai-wei rush into the hospital room. As I turned to leave, I heard Gu Qinghan's weak but gentle voice coming from the room. Tai-wei, go back to the villa. I stayed up all night. My suitcase was open on the floor. Each item was neatly packed inside. I took my packed luggage to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Congratulations, you're free now. The clerk handed me the divorce certificate. I caressed that small red booklet. My 12-year obsession finally came to an end at this moment. I took off the wedding ring from my ring finger and put it with the divorce certificate into a gift box I had prepared. The indent from the ring on my finger was very clear, just like Gu Qinghan in my life. The marks she left behind, though deep, they will fade with time. In the hospital room, Gu Qinghan was leaning against the headboard, reading documents, seeing me walk in. She didn't even look up, an expression of, I knew it on her face. Why are you up so early? Did you go to the Civil Affairs Bureau at the crack of dawn to withdraw the divorce application? She turned a page. The person on the bed spoke in a calm tone. Su Mubai, let me tell you, my patience has its limits, remember? This is the last time I'm putting up with your drama. I didn't say anything. I just handed her the box. My gaze on her was as calm as still water. Whether I'm causing drama or not, you'll know once you see this gift. Gu Qinghan finally looked up. She thought it was a peace offering, but as her fingers touched the velvet box, her heart suddenly trembled for no reason. My gaze was too calm, so calm that it felt foreign to her. She looked straight into it and found that the old affection and warmth were no longer there. A ting sound. Her phone screen lit up. Yang Tai-wei's avatar appeared. I've made your favorite porridge. I'm almost there. Wait for me. She subconsciously smirked. The strange feeling from before was instantly erased. All right, that's enough drama. You can go now, I'm not interested in your gift. She casually tossed the box onto the bedside table, making a dull thud. Taiwei is coming soon. He doesn't want to see you. I stood there, watching the sunlight, streaming through the curtains, casting tiny specks of light on her delicate profile. The eyes and brows that once captivated me now failed to stir even the slightest ripple in my heart. 12 years of infatuation finally fell silent at this moment. Goodbye. In the end, I only uttered those 2 words. I left the hospital alone and rushed to the airport with my last piece of luggage. Before boarding the plane, I blocked all of Gu Qinghan's social media accounts. In this life, I will never love Gu Qinghan again. From now on, we are worlds apart, never to meet again. Gu Qinghan rested in the hospital for half a month. Yang Taiwei visited her every day, rain or shine, tenderly and meticulously taking care of her daily needs. But for some reason, she always felt an emptiness in her heart, as if a piece was missing. Since that day, I truly never appeared before her again. At first, Gu Qinghan didn't care at all, but as time passed, she started to feel a little restless. She began to stare blankly at the door of her room often, as if waiting for someone to push the door open and walk in. But the person she was waiting for never appeared. Qinghan, have some soup. I specifically asked the maid to stew some black chicken soup. It's very good for your vitality. Yang Taiwei scooped a spoonful of chicken soup, gently blew on it, and only brought it to her lips when the temperature was just right. She mechanically opened her mouth, her gaze still involuntarily darting to the door. Qinghan, what are you looking at? Yang Taiwei noticed her unusual behavior. His smile stiffened slightly. Or are you waiting for someone? Who that person was? They both knew clearly in their hearts. No one. Gu Qinghan subconsciously denied it, averting her gaze. Her tone was extremely calm, but how could Yang Taiwei not see through it? He bit his lip, pretending to be hurt. He said, Qinghan, are you waiting for older brother to visit you? Gu Qinghan frowned, unconsciously retorting, you're overthinking it. Why would I wait for him? Is that so? I just find it strange. Yang Taiwei lowered his gaze. His voice was soft, but it seemed to have a sting. Older brother, he clearly knows you're injured, yet he hasn't visited you even once, not even a single phone call. Hearing these words, Gu Qinghan's fingers tightened on the blanket. That's right. Why? Based on his previous personality, even if I just coughed slightly, he would fuss over me with concern, but now I was almost stabbed to death. He just came to deliver the box, and then disappeared completely. Could it be that he really doesn't care about me anymore? The moment this thought appeared, it immediately stirred an indescribable frustration in her heart. Yang Taiwei saw that her expression was off. He immediately comforted her gently. Qinghan, don't be sad. Older brother might just be too busy. Gu Qinghan scoffed. Busy? What could he possibly be busy with? Perhaps. A calculating glint flashed in Yang Taiwei's eyes. He said, feigning hesitation. Maybe he's already found someone new. It's not impossible, after all. Didn't older brother say before that he wanted to find 7 great beauties? Gu Qinghan cut him off sharply. Her face was terrifyingly dark. Yang Taiwei was startled by her reaction. Pretending to be hurt, he said, Sorry, Qinghan, I didn't mean anything by it. I just don't want you to be deceived by him. Gu Qinghan took a deep breath. Suppressing the frustration in her heart, she forced a smile. It's my fault. It's okay. Let's not talk about him anymore. But her mind couldn't help but picture the look in my eyes as I left. So calm, so distant, as if there had never been any entanglement between us. On the day of her discharge, Gu Qinghan seemed a bit impatient. She hurried back to the villa, pushing the door open. The house was silent and dark. There was no sign of anyone. She frowned and subconsciously called out, Sumubai? No one answered. The lights were turned on. Only then did she notice the furniture in the house was covered in a thin layer of dust. It seems I really haven't been home for a long time. Gu Qinghan walked into the living room. Her gaze swept over a velvet box on the coffee table. It was the gift I left before I went away. When she was discharged, when her assistant was packing her things, he had asked if she wanted to take it with her. She had originally disdained to even look at it, but in the end, she still told her assistant to put it away. Now, as if possessed, she reached out her hand and picked up the box. Whether I'm causing drama or not, you'll know once you see this gift. My voice seemed to still echo in her ears. The box was surprisingly light. In her hand, it had almost no weight. She slowly opened it. A wedding ring, a divorce booklet. Gu Qinghan's pupils suddenly contracted. Her heart felt as if it were being squeezed by an invisible hand. What is this? She forcefully opened the divorce papers. The red seal of the Civil Affairs Bureau was clearly printed on it. The date was the day she got injured. Gu Qinghan stared at that small red booklet, her fingers trembling uncontrollably. So he wasn't putting on an act? It wasn't a game of push and pull? Does he really not want me anymore? Gu Qinghan stood in the entryway, still clutching the divorce certificate in her hand. Her knuckles trembled slightly from the excessive force. The red certificate with gold lettering glinted coldly under the light. The glaring red seal of the Civil Affairs Bureau was like a throbbing scar. Announcing the end of this marriage, she flipped through it several times, even starting to suspect that I had faked it. But the feel of the embossed seal under her fingertips was undeniably real. All these years of feelings, can he really just let go like that? This thought kept circling in her mind. Gu Qinghan took a deep breath, forcing herself to calm down. Then she immediately picked up her phone and called her assistant. Her voice was cold and stern. Immediately find Sumubai's whereabouts, flights, high-speed trains, hotel records, pull up everything you can find. The assistant had never heard such an out-of-control tone from Gu Qinghan and hastily agreed. But half an hour later, the assistant's reply made Gu Qinghan feel as if she had fallen into an ice cellar. President Gu, Mr. To, a month ago. Already took an international flight and left the country, destination unknown. All of his social media accounts have been deleted. His phone number and domestic bank cards have also been deactivated. Hearing this, Gu Qinghan's fingers tightened around her phone, her knuckles turning white. She couldn't believe this was real. She hung up the phone, rushed up to the second floor, the bedroom. The door was pushed open forcefully. What met her eyes was an empty space. The bed was perfectly neat without a single wrinkle. The closet was even emptier. All of my clothes were gone. On the bathroom sink, my personal belongings had also completely disappeared. Only a lone letter remained, lying there quietly. On the envelope were just a few scrawled words. To Gu Qinghan. Her hands trembled uncontrollably. The panic in her heart was about to overwhelm Gu Qinghan. She hastily tore open the envelope. Inside was just a single, short sentence. Gu Qinghan, I'm really leaving this time. I wish you happiness. No resentment, no lingering feelings, not even a single superfluous explanation. I just quietly withdrew from her life like that. The door was pushed open again. Wind blew in, blowing away. The thin piece of paper fell to the ground. Qinghan. It was Yang Taiwei. Yang Taiwei calmly looked around. He had discovered on the first floor just now that I had truly left for good. He was ecstatic. His voice became extremely excited. He put his arm around Gu Qinghan's. Qinghan, this bedroom has the best light. Let's stay here from now on. He pulled her hand. His handsome smile held an unconcealable eagerness. He had truly waited for this day for too long. Gu Qinghan came back to her senses. She looked at Yang Taiwei, his overjoyed appearance, and absent-mindedly grunted an mm. Her gaze uncontrollably fell on the single sofa by the window. That used to be my favorite spot. I always liked to curl up there and read. In the afternoon, with the sheer curtains drawn, the soft sunlight would shine on the tips of my hair, casting a soft golden halo around me. But now, the sofa was empty too. Yang Taiwei didn't notice her daze. After getting Gu Qinghan's agreement, he moved his luggage in that very afternoon. He enthusiastically directed the maids to change the curtains and furniture. That single sofa was thrown away. He even took the set of dishes I had carefully chosen and replaced them all with a style he liked. This set of dishes is too old-fashioned. It doesn't suit you at all, he sneered, then threw the antique porcelain plate I collected into the trash. Gu Qinghan looked at the broken pieces and felt a slight pang in her heart. There was once a time I cherished these plates and told her with a gentle gaze, Gu Qinghan, look, does this pattern look like the ivy on the back wall of our high school? What did she reply then? Boring. And now, she didn't even have the chance to mock me anymore. In the quiet of the night, Gu Qinghan sat alone in the study, holding a glass of whiskey. The alcohol burned her throat, but it couldn't extinguish the indescribable gloom in her heart. The villa became lively again after Yang Taiwei moved in, but she still felt something was missing. Once, she thought she hated me, hated my persistence, hated my existence. But when I truly disappeared, she found herself actually missing me, missing the black coffee I placed on her desk every morning, the temperature always just right, missing the times she worked late, and I would quietly drape a blanket over her shoulders, even missing my stubborn eyes when we argued. This realization made her chest feel a little tight. And what about Yang Taiwei? He was thoughtful and obedient. He knew how to please people. But after living together, Gu Qinghan always felt his thoughtfulness was like a meticulously designed act, his coyness like calculated moves, just like now, as she stood by the French window, watching him with a bright smile, directing the gardener downstairs, planting the agarwood trees he liked, and at his feet lay scattered small sandalwood trees, the ones I had planted, now trampled beyond recognition. As if sensing her gaze, Yang Taiwei looked up. The smile on his face was as handsome as ever, like a perfectly measured angle. She suddenly realized she had never truly understood Yang Taiwei. The next day, while cleaning the study, Gu Qinghan accidentally knocked over a stack of documents. An old notebook slipped out from a gap. She was a little puzzled. In her memory, she had never used this kind of notebook. Gu Qinghan bent down to pick it up. She flipped to the first page. Gu Qinghan didn't eat breakfast again today. I secretly put a sandwich in her desk drawer. I hope she doesn't find out it was me. Gu Qinghan's breath caught. This was my diary. Didn't I take it with me? With trembling fingers, she continued to flip through. Gu Qinghan sprained her ankle while dancing. I secretly left medicine in her locker, but she caught me. She coldly asked if I was playing a prank. I had to stubbornly say yes. I just hope you go lame. God knows how heartbroken I was. Mom is gone. Dad brought that woman and Yang Taiwei home. I hid in my room and cried. All I could think about was Gu Qinghan. Could you give me a hug? Our first wedding anniversary, Gu Qinghan went to find Yang Taiwei again. I threw the cake in the trash, but in the middle of the night, I couldn't resist picking it back up and ate it all by myself. I ate the whole cake. It tasted awful. Page after page was turned. Gu Qinghan's vision gradually blurred. The true feelings hidden in every word were so heavy. It turned out that in places she couldn't see, I had loved her so humbly and stubbornly, and she had trampled my true feelings under her feet, crushing them to pieces. Gu Qinghan slammed the diary shut, grabbed her car keys, and was about to rush out the door. She wanted to go to the airport. She wanted to check all the flights. Even if she had to turn the world upside down, she had to find me. That day, I was immersed in my own world when I suddenly heard hurried footsteps. I instinctively looked up and saw a figure stop in the courtyard. It was Gu Qinghan. Her eyes revealed a trace of panic and confusion. She thought in astonishment, I don't know why she's like this. So what if you found me? What can you say? I'm sorry? Or that you regret it? Would I even believe it? The night wind blew. She stood in the empty courtyard. A look of loss flashed in her eyes. Some things, once lost, can never be found again. She returned to the study in a daze, sat down in the leather chair by the floor-to-ceiling window. She opened that diary once again. Her fingertips trembled slightly. Outside the window was the vast, dark night. The dim yellow light of the desk lamp shone on the yellowed diary page. The faded handwriting seemed to have traversed the river of time. Every word, every sentence pierced her heart. She turned page after page. Each page recorded my deepest, most secret thoughts. Today in class, a few boys were gossiping behind her back again, saying Gu Qinghan cheated on her exams. I was furious. I rushed up and fought with them. As a result, the teacher made me stand in punishment for the whole afternoon. But I don't regret it. What right did they have to talk about her like that? Her breath hitched. She remembered this incident. That day after school, she saw my bruised face. I was standing in the hallway as punishment. She even sneered and mocked me for getting into another fight. To Mubai, can you stop acting like a thug all the time? And I just lowered my head, not saying a single word. It turns out I did it for her. A lump formed in her throat. She continued to flip to the next page. Gu Qinghan got into a car accident. The hospital's blood bank was on red alert. I secretly went to donate blood. The nurse said I had given too much blood. It wouldn't be good for my health. But Gu Qinghan was still waiting for me, so I insisted on giving enough. After that, I actually fainted. When I woke up, I heard she was out of danger. That was great. Her fingers suddenly clenched the page, crumpling it in her palm. It made a sound as if it was about to tear. That car accident. When she woke up, the doctor did indeed mention that a boy had given her a blood transfusion. But when she asked who it was, the doctor just said it was a classmate who didn't want to leave his name. It turned out to be me. I almost fainted for her, yet I didn't even receive a single word of thanks. Her chest felt like it was being squeezed by an invisible hand, crushed. The pain was so intense she could hardly breathe. She flipped further back. The handwriting in the diary became increasingly messy, as if the writer was growing more and more agitated. Today is Christmas Eve. It's also Gu Qinghan's birthday. I secretly made a lantern, a bamboo rabbit. It took me a whole month to make. My fingers were all pricked by the bamboo, but in the end, I didn't dare to give it to her. She hates me so much, she'd definitely just criticize it. She slammed the diary shut, her eyes squeezed shut. That rabbit lantern, she had seen it in the storage room later. It was stuffed into a dusty box. She thought one of the maid's children had forgotten it, so she casually told the staff to throw it away. But only now did she know that it was something I had poured my heart into. She stood up and walked slowly to the floor-to-ceiling window. Outside, the night was deep. The city lights twinkled like 1,000 stars. But her vision gradually blurred. Clearly, in her eyes, I had always been a willful and arrogant to Mubai and relentlessly clingy. But the me in the diary was humble and forbearing, loving her so carefully, loving her to the bone. Yet, I didn't even dare to say I like you. She recalled the buzzing gossip from her former classmates at the reunion, but at that time I had just coldly denied it and turned to leave without any hesitation. I didn't want her to know, because I knew that even if she knew, she wouldn't have cared at all. This truth made her heart ache. Outside the crack of the study door, a figure stood silently. Yang Taiwei peeked through the narrow gap of the study door. He saw Gu Qinghan holding that diary, lost in thought. Her nails dug deep into her palm. A sinister glint flashed in his eyes. Mubai was already gone, so why was his ghost still haunting this place? Early the next morning, at the dining table, Yang Taiwei held a cup of coffee and spoke with feigned nonchalance. Qinghan, yesterday while tidying up, I saw that brother left behind quite a bit of junk. Should we throw it all away? Gu Qinghan's hand, cutting her steak, paused. Her voice was cold. Just leave it. Don't touch his things for now. Yang Taiwei's expression didn't change, but the next second he let out an intentional sigh. I know. But brother is really something. You're clearly divorced. He took everything with him, so why did he deliberately leave only this diary behind? As if he's afraid you don't know how much he loved you. Clank! Gu Qinghan said nothing, just threw the knife and fork in her hand onto the plate, making a piercing sound. She looked up, her gaze frighteningly cold. Yang Taiwei, watch what you say! Yang Taiwei was frightened by her gaze, and he was even more surprised that she would get angry over this. He forced a smile and said, Qinghan, are you angry? I was just telling the truth. Isn't he just trying to play the victim to make you feel sorry for him? Play the victim? Gu Qinghan scoffed. Then when he fought for me, gave blood, and jumped into the icy lake, where were you? Yang Taiwei's face turned pale. He might have made all that up. You know him well enough. He's best at pretending. Enough. Gu Qinghan suddenly stood up. The chair scraped against the floor, creating a piercing sound. She looked down at Yang Taiwei from above, her eyes colder than ever before. Her words carried a clear warning. Yang Taiwei, don't make me regret letting you move in here. With that, she turned and walked away, leaving Yang Taiwei frozen in place, his face alternating between pale and flushed. Gu Qinghan stood in the garden, the emotions in her chest threatening to erupt. She had thought I was the villain driving a wedge between her and Yang Taiwei. But Yang Taiwei, the true love she believed in, at her weakest moment, was eager to slander me mercilessly. She suddenly realized that she might have been terribly, terribly wrong. Her gaze fell upon the distant horizon. Tumubai, where are you? After that breakfast, a thorn was planted in Gu Qinghan's heart. Yang Taiwei's malicious slander about me made her suspect him for the first time. The words from the class reunion echoed in her mind. In stark contrast to those words, Yang Taiwei's casual sarcasm became even more grating. What right did he have to say I was faking my deep affection? Gu Qinghan stood before the floor-to-ceiling window in her office, her fingers idly tracing the rim of her coffee cup. Her expression was deep and unreadable. After a long while, she picked up her phone and called her assistant. Investigate Yang Taiwei for me. Her voice was as cold as ice. I want to know what he's really been up to all these years. 3 days later, the assistant placed a thick investigative report on Gu Qinghan's desk. The moment she turned the first page, her face darkened. Her suspicions were all true. Yang Taiwei was even more despicable than she had imagined. The report detailed his ambiguous relationships with many wealthy patrons over the years. He had even used Gu Qinghan's power to secretly suppress the Yang family's business rivals. But what shocked her the most was that countless details in the document all showed that every time the relationship between her and me deteriorated, it was almost always after Yang Taiwei appeared. Back in high school, she and I were just your typical bickering rivals. But ever since Yang Taiwei transferred to the school, my attitude towards him suddenly became harsher. In college, she was hospitalized after a car accident. I secretly gave her a blood transfusion. But not long after she opened her eyes, Yang Taiwei, right after she woke up, immediately told her that Tumubai doesn't care about you at all. He didn't even bother to visit you. And after getting married, the conflict between her and me grew more intense. Thinking back on it now, every argument was almost always because of something Yang Taiwei or someone around him casually said. Miss Gu is in a bad mood today. Can you be with her? Qinghan, I think brother really hates me. He yelled at me again just now. Qinghan, Tumubai put laxatives in my coffee. How could he treat me like that? Gu Qinghan's fingers tightened around the report, her knuckles turning white. She suddenly realized a truth that was hard to accept, that she might have been manipulated by Yang Taiwei for a whole decade. If, for now, her feelings about Yang Taiwei's actions were still a mix of belief and doubt, then what happened next completely turned Gu Qinghan's attitude towards Yang Taiwei into pure rage. Gu Qinghan's friend, Zhou Su, came to her with a troubled expression. He handed her a USB drive. Qinghan, I ran into Yang Taiwei at a bar 2 days ago. What's in here? I think you need to hear it. After a burst of noise, the recording suddenly became a bit quieter. The next second, a familiar voice was heard. Yang Taiwei sounded tipsy. He was sitting with a few of his buddies in the VIP section, laughing and talking without restraint. Zhou Shu hadn't intended to eavesdrop, but Yang Taiwei's loud laughter and arrogance made him unable to ignore it. Gu Qinghan, what the hell is she? She's nothing but a pawn in my hands. Yang Taiwei swirled his wine glass, a smug smile on his face as he looked at his friends' shocked expressions. He scoffed. I'm telling you, you guys think I actually love her? Don't be ridiculous. If it weren't for her money and power, who would bother playing the part of a devoted lover for all these years? His friends burst into laughter. Someone pressed him. Then what about Tumubai? I heard he loves Gu Qinghan. Loves her to death. Yang Taiwei sneered, his eyes filled with contempt. Tumubai? He's even dumber. Loving someone so pathetically. For so many years, didn't he end up running away with his tail between his legs? He tilted his head back and drained his glass. Warmed by the alcohol, his tone grew even more arrogant. You guys know about the Ancestral Hall incident? Ha ha ha, Gu Qinghan is such an idiot. She believes anything I say. She actually thought I was being bullied by Tumubai. In reality, I smashed that old man's memorial tablet first. Tumubai, that fool, actually wanted to protect it. In the end, Gu Qinghan herself whipped him 60 times. Zhou Shu's expression changed instantly. He secretly recorded the conversation, then turned and left. He immediately called Gu Qinghan. After listening to the recording, Gu Qinghan's mind buzzed in a chaotic mess as if she'd been struck. What followed was a towering rage that swept over her. Her fingers squeezed the phone tightly. Her fingertips turned white from the force. An inferno of rage swirled in her eyes. Yang, Tai, Wei, she ground out each word, her voice hissing through clenched teeth. So that was the truth of the Ancestral Hall incident. It turns out the 60 whip marks on my back were all a gift from Yang Tai-Wei. And what enraged her even more was that she had become Yang Tai-Wei's accomplice. Gu Qinghan remembered the family dinner that day, remembered how I collapsed helplessly in a pool of blood, remembered how I stubbornly held my head high with reddened eyes, trying to explain that Yang Tai-Wei had started it. But she had insisted that I was staging it all to frame Yang Tai-Wei and didn't even give me a chance to explain. With her own hands, she had destroyed my feelings for her. Gu Qinghan suddenly stood up and swept a wine bottle to the floor. It shattered with a crash. After the sound of breaking glass, a sharp pain shot through her cut fingertip, but she seemed not to notice. Compared to the pain in her heart, this superficial wound was nothing. That evening, Gu Qinghan returned directly to the villa with her bodyguards and knocked on Yang Tai-Wei's door. The moment the door opened, before Yang Tai-Wei could even show a happy expression, Gu Qinghan's bodyguard grabbed him by the neck and slammed him against the wall. Yang Tai-Wei, her voice was as cold as a demon from hell. Yang Tai-Wei's eyes widened in terror. His face turned red from lack of oxygen. As the grip on his neck tightened, his face began to turn purple. Qinghan, what are you doing? Tell him to let me go! Gu Qinghan sneered and motioned for the bodyguard to release him. She played the recording on her phone for him to hear. Yang Tai-Wei's face instantly drained of all color. No, it's not like that. Let me explain. Someone is framing me. He frantically grabbed Qinghan's hand. She violently shook him off. Framing you? Gu Qinghan's eyes were like poison. Then what about these? She threw the investigation report in his face. The papers scattered all over the floor. How are you going to explain this? Was someone also framing you then? Yang Tai-Wei looked down, and after clearly seeing the words before him, he immediately went limp and collapsed to the floor. It's over. It's all over. Gu Qinghan looked down at him from above, not saying a word. A moment later, she turned and left. Her back was resolute and cold. Yang Tai-Wei was left behind, both shocked and terrified, his whole body trembling. The door slammed shut with a thunderous sound. Yang Tai-Wei instinctively flinched. Tears streamed down his face, but his eyes were filled with a terrifying darkness. Meanwhile, it was early morning in Paris. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling window into the apartment. I sat on the sofa by the window, holding a cup of hot coffee in my hands. I gently blew out a puff of white steam. Outside the window, the River Seine sparkled. The Eiffel Tower in the distance was veiled in the morning light. There was no Gu Qinghan here, no Yang Tai-Wei, none of the past that suffocated me. There was only me. I lowered my head and took a sip of coffee. The corners of my mouth lifted slightly. So this is what freedom tastes like. In my 3rd month in Paris, I enrolled in an advanced course at a design academy. I already had a foundation in painting, and combined with the emotions I had suppressed for so many years, I finally found an outlet. My design works had a unique style, possessing both the charm of Eastern aesthetics and the unrestrained nature of Western art. I quickly caught the attention of the lecturers in the department. Xiaotou, your work is very vibrant, a lecturer said, holding my design draft. His eyes were full of admiration, especially the cut of this dress. It looks like a butterfly breaking out of its chrysalis. I was stunned for a moment, then smiled softly. Yes. Breaking out of the chrysalis to become a butterfly. I finally did it. Finally escaped the chrysalis named Gu Qinghan. With the lecturer's validation, I rented a small studio in Montmartre and hung up my own sign. Meeting Zhang Yueshu was a coincidence. We met at a design exhibition. She was of Chinese descent, but had grown up in France. Her family was in the high-end fabric business, and she herself was a well-known designer. That day, she stopped at my booth for a long time. Finally, she pointed to a deep red long dress and asked, "What was the inspiration for this dress?" I looked at the dress. It was a piece I made shortly after arriving in Paris. I had suffered from insomnia night after night, almost drowning in the pain of the past, but I turned that pain into motivation for the future. And so, this dress was born. Red as blood, but embroidered with golden butterflies on the hem, beating their wings, wanting to break free. I said softly. Zhang Yueshu looked at me deeply and suddenly smiled. My name is Zhang Yueshu. She extended her hand. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Chrysalis Breaker. From then on, she became a regular at my studio. Sometimes she would bring me rare fabrics, and other times she would just sit quietly and watch me draw my designs. She never asked about my past, nor did she ever cross any boundaries. She just used her perfect gentleness to slowly melt away my defenses. To move by, one afternoon she suddenly spoke. Next month is International Fashion Week. My brand has a slot. Do you want to participate together? I was stunned. That was an opportunity countless designers dreamed of. I looked up at her and saw only pure admiration and appreciation in her eyes. No pity, no ulterior motives, just pure belief in my talent. My eyes began to sting. Okay. In the following days, I poured all my energy into preparing for Fashion Week. On the eve of Fashion Week, I went to the Champs-Élysées to select accessories and happened to see a familiar figure in front of a store. "Mu Bai?" the other person exclaimed in surprise, staring at me with wide eyes. I was stunned. I immediately recognized her as Lin Yan, my high school classmate. "Oh my God, it really is you!" Lin Yan excitedly grabbed my hand. "Why are you in Paris?" She looked me up and down, her eyes filled with astonishment. The me before her and the gloomy, silent teenager in her memory were like two completely different people. The me now wore a simple white shirt and jeans, my face radiating a healthy glow. What was most captivating were my eyes. There was no longer any self-deprecation or humility in them, but rather, they were filled with calm and confidence. "You look so different," Lin Yan murmured. I smiled softly. "That's right, because I finally learned to love myself." Lin Yan's eyes reddened. She suddenly reached out and gently hugged me. "That's great. That's really great." I gently patted her back. The sunlight enveloped both of us, and I felt a warmth in my heart. On the day of the Fashion Week show, my collection was scheduled as the finale. The model, wearing the gown I designed, walked onto the runway. The deep red silk flowed like blood. Under the lights, the golden butterflies seemed ready to take flight. Thunderous applause erupted from the audience. Zhang Yueshu stood beside me, whispering, "Look, everyone is captivated by you." I looked at the stage, my eyes growing moist. In this moment, I was no longer Gu Qinghan's accessory, no longer a joke in young Tai Wei's eyes. I was just to Mu Bai, a completely new to Mu Bai who had found himself again. Gu Qinghan stood before the floor-to-ceiling window, her deep gaze fixed on the night outside. Young Tai Wei pushed the door open and walked in. His leather shoes clicked on the marble floor, making a dull sound. "Qinghan," he called softly, a fawning smile on his face. "Why aren't the lights on?" Gu Qinghan didn't answer, just let out a faint hum. Seeing her calm reaction, young Tai Wei slowly approached. He reached out his hand, wanting to take hers, but she calmly avoided it. "The company has been very busy lately." He withdrew his hand. He asked probingly. A trace of unease flickered in his eyes. Gu Qinghan finally turned around. The corners of her lips lifted into a faint ghost of a smile. "It has been a bit busy." He reached out and gently stroked her cheek. His voice was clear and warm. "Did you miss me?" Yang Tai Wei was stunned. He immediately felt ecstatic. Ever since their unpleasant breakup that day, she hadn't treated him like this in a long time. He knew right away that Gu Qinghan couldn't bear to leave him. "Of course I missed you." He took the opportunity to pull her into his arms. His voice was sickly sweet. "You haven't been paying any attention to me lately. I thought you were really angry with me." Gu Qinghan looked down at him. Her eyes were ice cold, but her voice was so gentle it was intoxicating. "How could I be?" she chuckled softly. "I was just preparing a big gift for you." Yang Tai Wei chuckled. He wrapped his long, slender arms around Gu Qinghan's waist. Their shadows stretched long on the ground, entwined with each other, becoming one. A week later, the Yang family's enterprise suddenly fell into a capital chain crisis. Partners who had previously made agreements withdrew their investments one after another. Bank loan approvals were delayed without reason. Even long-term suppliers suddenly stopped their supplies. Yang Tai Wei's father was worried sick. He ran around everywhere asking for help, but he was turned away everywhere he went. "Who the hell is messing with us?" Father Yang slammed the table and roared during a board meeting, and at the same time, Gu Qinghan was sitting in her office, flipping through the latest report on the Yang Corporation sent by her assistant. Yang Corporation's stock price had fallen to a historic low. 3 of its subsidiaries were facing liquidation and bankruptcy. She curled her lips slightly, but there was no hint of a smile in her eyes. "Very good, but it's still not enough." She made a phone call. Her voice was calm and cruel. "Keep up the pressure. I want the Yang family to disappear completely. How dare they mess with her? How could they not be prepared to pay the price?" Yang Tai Wei finally realized something was wrong. He called Gu Qinghan countless times but was always forwarded to her secretary's desk. He went to the company to find her, only to be blocked downstairs by security. "I'm sorry, Mr. Yang. President Gu has given instructions not to receive any guests." Since when did he become a guest? Yang Tai Wei was frantic. He finally realized that Gu Qinghan's tenderness was just to make him lower his guard. He frantically searched his contact list, trying to contact anyone who could help him, but the friends who were once so kind to him now avoided him like the plague. "Tai Wei, it's not that I won't help you. President Gu has already sent out the word. Who would dare interfere now? Mr. Yang, I'm truly powerless to help. You'll have to fend for yourself." In desperation, Yang Tai Wei rushed straight to Gu Qinghan's villa. He knelt before the gate, crying and calling Qinghan's name. "I know I was wrong. Please spare the Yang family. I'm begging you." The gate slowly opened. Gu Qinghan stood on the steps, looking down on him from above. Her gaze was as cold as if she were looking at a dead person. "Qinghan," Yang Tai Wei crawled over and grabbed her pant leg. Tears streamed down his face. He was utterly pathetic. "I really know I was wrong. You'll never do it again. Can you forgive me?" Gu Qinghan slowly squatted down, gripped his chin, and forced him to look up. "Yang Tai Wei," she asked softly, "do you know what I regret the most?" Yang Taiwei trembled as he watched Gu Qinghan smile. That smile made him feel incredibly uneasy. My biggest regret is not seeing your true colors sooner. She let go and stood up. Her voice was bone-chillingly cold. You made me lose the only person who truly loved me. I will make you pay a heavy price. Yang Taiwei collapsed to the ground. His face was ashen. No, you can't do this. Gu Qinghan, I love you. I really love you. Gu Qinghan turned and walked away, leaving behind only a light remark. But unfortunately, your love isn't worth a penny. A month later, the Yang Corporation officially declared bankruptcy. Father Yang was arrested on suspicion of commercial fraud. Yang Taiwei sold all his luxury goods, but still couldn't pay off the enormous debt. He stood in front of the once glamorous villa, looking at the court seal on the main door. Finally, he collapsed and fell to his knees. Gu Qinghan stood before the floor-to-ceiling window, a glass of whiskey in her hand. The amber liquid cast a cold gleam under the light. Outside the window, the city's neon lights flickered. Traffic flowed like a weaver's shuttle, but her world seemed to have lost all its color. The Yang family had fallen. Yang Taiwei was utterly ruined, drowning in debt. From a rich young master, he had thoroughly become a street rat everyone avoided. She should have felt triumphant. But why did her heart feel even emptier? She tilted her head back and downed a large gulp of alcohol. The strong liquor burned her throat, but couldn't extinguish the cold spreading deep in her heart. In the boardroom of the Gu Corporation, the senior managers looked at each other in bewilderment. Gu Qinghan sat in the chairman's seat, her hair a mess. Her eyes were bloodshot. She slammed the documents in her hand onto the table. Do you have to ask me about something this small? She let out a cold laugh. Her voice was hoarse. Am I paying you all just to be useless? The boardroom was dead silent. No one dared to speak. This was the third time this month that Gu Qinghan had flown into a rage during a meeting. Ever since I left, she seemed to have become a different person. Alcoholic, short-tempered, perfunctory in her work. The company's stock price began to fall. The shareholders were complaining incessantly, but no one dared to confront her face-to-face. The assistant carefully handed over a file. President Gu, this is the financial report from last quarter. It needs your signature. Gu Qinghan didn't even bother to look at it. She directly grabbed the fountain pen and scribbled a few lines. Get out. The assistant felt as if granted amnesty and hastily retreated. In the office, Gu Qinghan pulled open a drawer and took out a photograph. It was her and my wedding photo. In the photo, I was wearing a pristine white suit, smiling radiantly. As for her, her face was cold and expressionless, as if this marriage was the biggest mistake of her life. Thinking back now, she was the most ridiculous one. Late at night, a drunk Gu Qinghan called a private investigator. Have you found him yet? Her voice was so hoarse it was barely a whisper. The other end of the line was silent for a moment. President Gu, Mr. Toss entry and exit records have been deliberately deleted by someone. We can't trace his whereabouts. Useless. Gu Qinghan slammed the phone against the wall. The screen shattered. She staggered to her feet, grabbed her car keys and rushed out the door. My old apartment had always been unoccupied. No one dared to touch it. Gu Qinghan used the spare key to open the door. A faint smell of dust hit her. Everything in the room was exactly the same. The wool cardigan I used to wear was still draped over the side of the sofa. On the coffee table was the design magazine I hadn't finished reading. My favorite apron was hanging on a hook in the kitchen. It was as if I had just stepped out for a short walk and would be back at any moment. Gu Qinghan's limbs went weak. She fell to her knees on the ground. The alcohol and regret washed over her. Her vision gradually turned red. Sumobai, she murmured to herself. Her voice was choked with sobs. I was wrong. Please come back. The empty room only echoed with her voice. When morning came, Gu Qinghan woke up on the cold floor. The excessive drinking gave her a splitting headache, but the memories were frighteningly clear. Gu Qinghan slowly got up, taking one last look at this room full of memories. If she could find me, if I was still willing to give her a chance, she would definitely use the rest of her life to make it up to me. Winter in Paris always arrives unexpectedly. I wrapped the wool scarf tightly around my neck. My breath fogged up the glass door in a white mist. The heating in the studio still wasn't fixed. I rubbed my fingers, red from the cold, and continued sketching the new collection on the drawing board. After Fashion Week, I became famous. Countless invitations and collaboration letters flew in, filling my studio. Time became scarce. I buried myself at my design table. The pen in my hand made a scratching sound. The doorbell suddenly rang. Surprise! Zhang Yueshu stood at the door, wearing a black coat. Unmelted snowflakes dusted her shoulders. She was carrying 2 steaming cups of coffee. The tip of her nose was red from the cold. Tiny water droplets clung to her eyelashes, looking like a sprinkle of tiny diamonds in the morning light. I heard a certain designer pulled an all-nighter again. She handed one of the cups to me. Her fingers accidentally brushed against the back of my hand. Double caramel half milk. I froze. This was a taste I had developed since my student days. Even Gu Qinghan couldn't remember it. As the coffee cup warmed my palm, I noticed a crooked butterfly drawn on the cup's sleeve. Did I not draw it right? Zhang Yueshu leaned closer to show me. These are the wings. These are the antennae. She leaned a little too close. The scent of cedarwood mixed with the cold from her body washed over me. I suddenly noticed a tiny mole on her right earlobe, hidden beneath her black hair. It was as beautiful as a mysterious star. Sumu bai. The coffee is getting cold. I quickly bowed my head and took a sip. As soon as I looked up, she suddenly reached out and wiped a drop from the corner of my mouth. Her warm fingertips touched me lightly and then pulled away. Our eyes met. We were both momentarily stunned. Outside the window, the first snow of the season fell silently. The night before Spring-Summer Fashion Week, a sudden storm hit. As I stood gloomily in front of the exhibition center, a black umbrella appeared from behind me. I knew you wouldn't bring an umbrella. The right shoulder of Zhang Yueshu's blazer was soaked. Let's go. My car is parked right across the street. Rainwater collected into small streams on the stone path. Zhang Yueshu was walking in high heels. Careful, she suddenly slipped and fell into my arms. Be careful, I said, catching her by the waist with one arm. The umbrella swayed in the wind. Cold rainwater splashed onto our pressed-together sleeves. Through the drenched fabric, I could clearly feel her warmth and her heartbeat. Thump, thump. It was unclear whose heart had skipped a beat. We both opened our mouths at the same time and then fell silent at the same time. Finally, Zhang Yueshu laughed and spoke first. Want to count to 3 and then say it together? In the rain, her eyes were like obsidian soaked in water. I suddenly remembered the design I had revised yesterday. The inner shirt of that woman's dress, I had secretly embroidered half a golden butterfly on it. Zhang Yueshu said softly, after fashion weekends, let's go see the lavender. She finished my sentence. I checked. Next month, the flower season in Provence is just beginning. The sound of the rain faded. A ray of moonlight pierced through the clouds. During Milan Fashion Week, the lights in my studio were on all night. I drank one iced coffee after another. As a result, I developed a high fever that wouldn't go down. In the hotel room, I was delirious. I felt someone gently support the back of my neck. Warm medicine flowed down my throat. Yueshu, what time is it? 3 in the morning. Zhang Yueshu's voice was very hoarse. Do you know you have a 39-degree fever? I forced my eyes open and saw her in a wrinkled long dress. There were dark circles under her eyes, fever patches and medicine wrappers were scattered on the nightstand. You didn't sleep? A certain patient kept kicking off his blanket every half hour. She used a wet towel to wipe the sweat from my forehead, and he kept holding onto my hand, talking nonstop. I immediately sobered up. Was I talking in my sleep? Zhang Yueshu suddenly leaned down, so close that I could count each of her eyelashes. Sumubai, I'm seriously telling you something. I tested it for you. Cursing out your ex really can bring down a fever. Just now, when you cursed her for the 7th time, your temperature actually dropped by 3 degrees. I burst out laughing. I laughed and then suddenly fell silent. My eyes turned red. Zhang Yueshu gently hugged me. Her chin rested on my shoulder. Men are allowed to cry too. If you want to cry, just cry. I have plenty of dresses. The sunlight in Provence is much more generous than in Paris. Zhang Yueshu stood in the middle of a flower field, watching me get surrounded by local children weaving flower crowns. I clumsily broke a few flower stems, and finally resorted to bribing them with money to try and smooth things over. This made the children burst out laughing. Miss Designer, I turned and walked towards her, hiding something in my hands. Please close your eyes. As soon as Zhang Yueshu closed her eyes, she felt a slight weight on her hair. Done. You can open your eyes. I used my phone to show her a live picture. A crooked lavender crown was perched on her temple, like a funny little crown. It's so ugly. Zhang Yueshu reached up to take it off, but I grabbed her wrist. Wait. I took a bracelet out of my pocket and dangled it in front of her in the wind. A phrase was engraved on the inside of the bracelet. It seemed to mean my spring. Zhang Yueshu gestured for the person in front of her to put it on for her. The happy laughter of the children echoed from afar. The purple petals danced in the wind. I stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window of my studio, holding a gold-embossed invitation card. The top domestic jewelry brand, Yunming, had invited me to be the artistic director for their new collection. Zhang Yueshu pushed the door open and entered, carrying 2 cups of hot coffee. Seeing me in a daze, she asked softly, "Still hesitating?" I snapped out of it. My fingers unconsciously stroked the invitation card. I thought I would never come back. Zhang Yueshu handed me the coffee, the warm cup pressed against my palm. "Are you afraid of seeing her again?" I was silent for a moment. Suddenly I laughed. No, I shook my head. I was just wondering what I was really afraid of. Outside the window, a sycamore leaf was caught by the wind, whirled, and landed on the windowsill. When I looked up again, my eyes were filled with determination. I can't hide for the rest of my life. When the plane landed in the familiar city, I was dazed for a moment. 3 years had passed. The airport's appearance hadn't changed, but my mood had already changed earth-shatteringly. Mr. To, the assistant sent to pick me up, walked over enthusiastically. "Welcome back to the country. President Meng specifically told me to take you to the hotel to rest first. We'll discuss the details of the collaboration tomorrow." I smiled and followed the assistant to the parking lot. The street scenes outside the car window receded quickly. Among the skyscrapers, familiar signs flashed by. This place once held all my love, but now it was like an old, closed book that could no longer be opened. Gu Qinghan. When she heard the news of my return, she was in a meeting. Her assistant rushed in, leaned over, and whispered a few words in her ear. Her pupils suddenly contracted. The fountain pen in her hand slammed down on the documents, splattering a few drops of ink. "Are you sure it's him?" Her voice was frighteningly hoarse. The assistant confirmed. The car that picked him up today was clearly parked right below our company building. Many people saw it. Gu Qinghan shot to her feet. The boardroom immediately fell silent. "Meeting dismissed," she said, leaving those words behind as she rushed out. Gu Qinghan's car sped down the road, finally stopping in front of the Yunming Corporation building. As soon as she opened the car door, she saw a familiar figure emerge from the revolving door. It was me. I was wearing a simple white suit, which accentuated my broad shoulders and slim waist. Tall with long legs, so poised, so dazzling. Gu Qinghan's breath hitched. Just as she was about to step forward, another figure blocked her path. The two women's gazes met in midair, sparks flying. Gu Qinghan's voice was icy. Zhang Yueshu stood her ground. "He doesn't want to see you." Gu Qinghan's fists clenched. Blood vessels appeared in her eyes. "Who the hell do you think you are to stop me?" Zhang Yueshu let out a cold laugh. "And who are you? Someone who hurt him deeply? What right do you have to appear before him?" These words were like a knife stabbing straight into Gu Qinghan's heart. Her knuckles cracked, but she couldn't refute it. From a distance, I seemed to notice something and looked in their direction. Gu Qinghan's breath immediately caught. I was looking at her, but the next second, my gaze calmly moved away, as if she were just an insignificant stranger on the side of the road. I bent down and got into the car. The black car slowly drove away. Gu Qinghan stood frozen on the spot. The blood in her entire body ran cold. I couldn't even be bothered to hate her anymore. "Gu Qinghan." Jiang Yueshu's voice pulled her back to reality. "If you have any conscience left, then don't bother him anymore." Gu Qinghan looked at her with red eyes. "Who do you think you are? His new love?" "Who I am doesn't matter," Jiang Yueshu said nonchalantly. "What's important is that he's living very well now. In the days without you, he finally learned how to love himself." Night fell. Gu Qinghan stood alone under the apartment building where I used to live. The third-floor window was dark. No light would ever be lit for her again. She took out a pack of cigarettes but found her hands were shaking too much to light the lighter. Finally, she leaned dejectedly against the wall, looking up at that window. "Sumu bai." The night wind blew her whisper away. Gu Qinghan stood in a corner of the hotel lobby. Her fingers were clenched so tightly they turned white. It had been 3 days. She seemed to be going crazy. Sent someone to investigate my entire schedule. Finally found out I'd be attending a private party tonight. She didn't know why she came. Perhaps it was out of unwillingness to accept it. Perhaps because she absolutely couldn't bear it. The fact that I had completely disappeared from her life. The elevator dinged and opened. I stepped out, holding Zhang Yueshu's hand. I was wearing a dark-colored suit. The diamond on my lapel pins sparkled under the lights. A faint smile lingered on my lips. So handsome, so distant. Gu Qinghan's heart clenched in pain. She took a deep breath and strode forward. "Mobai," my steps faltered. I slowly turned my head. My gaze fell upon Gu Qinghan's face. A flash of surprise crossed my eyes. Then it immediately returned to calmness. "Xiao Gu." I nodded slightly. My tone was as distant as if I were dealing with a business partner. A lump formed in Gu Qinghan's throat. She instinctively stepped forward and reached out her hand. Jiang Yueshu frowned. She instinctively took half a step forward, blocking the space between us. But I gently patted her hand. "Yueshu, can you go wait for me in the car first?" Zhang Yueshu wanted to say something but held back. Seeing my calm expression, she finally nodded and left. In the hall, only she and I remained. An indescribable silence. Silence enveloped the space. Gu Qinghan's voice was hoarse and shapeless. "I have something to tell you." I looked at her quietly. My eyes were as calm as a deep lake. "Speak." Gu Qinghan had once wondered. She had imagined the scene of their reunion countless times. But when I was actually standing in front of her, she didn't know where to begin. "I'm sorry," she finally spoke. Her voice was thick with a suppressed sob. "The matter of the ancestral hall, the matter of the birthday, the matter of the divorce. In everything, I have wronged you." Her knees hit the marble floor heavily. "I'm begging you to forgive me." The surrounding crowd instantly fell silent. Countless gazes turned towards them. The high and mighty Xiao Gu was now kneeling before a man, as pathetic as a stray dog that has lost its master. I looked down at her, not a ripple of emotion in my eyes. I said softly, "Some things can't be salvaged just by feeling regret." Gu Qinghan raised her head. Her eyes were filled with pain. "Is there really no chance left?" Her voice trembled, as if desperately trying to grasp the last life-saving straw. I looked at her quietly, and suddenly laughed. It was a very faint smile, but it cut Gu Qinghan like a knife, because she saw no trace of lingering affection in my eyes. "You were no longer a part of my future long ago." I turned to leave. Gu Qinghan grabbed my wrist firmly. "Give me one more chance. Just one." I stopped. I didn't pull away, nor did I turn back. You know, I said softly, I once truly believed that if I just loved you enough, sacrificed enough, that one day you would turn around and look at me. Only later did I understand. I slowly pulled my hand away. Love isn't like that. Gu Qinghan remained kneeling on the spot, watching my back as it slowly moved away. The warmth from my wrist still lingered on her fingertips, but her heart felt as cold as an ice cellar. Zhang Yushu and I got into the car. The moment I bent down to get in, a plane tree leaf fell on the car window. Gu Qinghan suddenly remembered many years ago. Back then, I was still a mischievous boy. I secretly stuffed a sandwich into her desk drawer. When she found out, I blushed and said, Who cares about you? I was just afraid you'd starve to death and there'd be no one left for me to argue with. If time could be turned back. If she could have seen her own heart sooner. Too bad there are no ifs in this world. The black car slowly started to move, finally disappearing into the night. On a rainy late autumn night, Yang Taiwei huddled on the bed of a cheap motel. The light from his phone screen illuminated his haggard face. News headlines appeared one after another. The Yang Corporation officially declares bankruptcy, billions in debt. Father Yang arrested on suspicion of commercial fraud, facing a prison sentence of over 10 years. Yang Taiwei violently threw the phone against the wall. The sound of the screen shattering was jarring in the quiet room. He hugged his knees in misery, his expensive silk pajamas long since wrinkled. The $1 million diamond bracelet on his wrist was also gone. 3 months ago. He was still the admired young master of a wealthy family, but now he could barely afford the hotel fee. Early the next morning, Yang Taiwei stood in front of the mirror, using the last of his cosmetics to meticulously cover his gaunt face. He wanted to see Gu Qinghan, the woman who once obeyed his every word, the woman who was once willing to spend money on him like it was nothing. If only she would soften her heart, he could turn his life around. He put on the only decent outfit he had left, and went to the Gu Corporation building wearing his dress shoes. When the security guard saw him, he immediately frowned and stopped him. Mr. Yang, CEO Gu has instructed not to receive any guests. Yang Taiwei forced a smile. Tell her, I have something important concerning to Mo Bai. The guard hesitated, but finally made the internal call. 5 minutes later, Yang Taiwei was taken to the top-floor office. Gu Qinghan stood before the floor-to-ceiling window. Her back was elegant yet cold. Hearing the door open, she didn't even raise her head. Qinghan. As soon as Yang Taiwei opened his mouth, his eyes turned red. His voice choked. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. He staggered forward, wanting to grab her arm, but she sidestepped him. What was it you said about Mo Bai? Her voice was as cold as ice. Yang Taiwei fell to the ground. He looked up at her. Tears streamed down like rain. I didn't do those things willingly. Someone else forced me. Qinghan, please believe me. The one I've always loved is only you. Gu Qinghan finally turned around, looking down at him from above. Her gaze made him tremble. There was no longer a trace of the gentleness from the past, only disgust and mockery. Yang Taiwei. She let out a soft laugh. You know, this state you're in right now truly makes me sick. It's not like that. He shook his head frantically. It's too Mo Bai. He must have slandered me in front of you, Qinghan. Have you forgotten that we used to? Shut up. Gu Qinghan gripped his chin tightly. Are you even worthy of mentioning his name? She took a stack of photos from a drawer and threw them hard in his face. The photos scattered all over the floor. They were all intimate photos of him and other women, spanning several years. Did someone else force you to do these things too? Gu Qinghan's hateful gaze fell upon him, crushing him and making him tremble all over. After that night, Yang Taiwei completely fell into the abyss. Cornered, he walked into an underground bar, under the dim lights. The madam scrutinized him. Ever done this kind of work before? Yang Taiwei clutched his hem, his nails dug deep into his palm. No, but I can learn, the madam scoffed. She threw him a revealing see-through fishnet outfit. Change into this. You start entertaining clients tonight. Yang Taiwei took the outfit with trembling hands and entered the dressing room. In the mirror, he saw his own pale face. The refined look from before was long gone. Under his eyes were dark black circles. 3 in the morning, in the smoke-filled private room of the bar, Yang Taiwei was held in the arms of a fat, middle-aged man, the man's mouth reeking of alcohol rubbed all over his neck. I hear you used to be a young master of a wealthy family? The man laughed sleazily, his hand groping his thigh. So tell me, how much does it cost to sleep with you? Yang Taiwei suppressed his disgust and forced a smile. CO Wang, you must be joking. But the man's expression suddenly changed. He raised his hand and slapped him hard across the face. Who are you pretending to be so virtuous for? A faggot playing hard to get. Yang Taiwei's face was knocked sideways. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth, in a corner where no one could see. His gaze gradually became twisted. If Gu Qinghan hadn't hunted him down to the bitter end, how could he have fallen to this point? At the same time, In the GU Corporation's meeting room, it was dead silent. The shareholders' faces were pale. The documents in their hands were crumpled. CEO GU, the last quarter's financial report shows the corporation has lost 37%. If this continues, we will go bankrupt. Gu Qinghan leaned back in her chair. Her eyes stared blankly at the ceiling, as if it had nothing to do with her, as if they were discussing someone else's company. The meeting room immediately erupted. Are you crazy? This is your grandfather's life's work, Gu Qinghan? For a man, throw away your family's business? Gu Qinghan slowly stood up. Her dress was loose and oversized. She had long lost her former appearance. She didn't say a word, and left the meeting room without a backward glance. From behind came the sound of a teacup shattering on the floor, the sound of curses, but she heard none of it. Her world had long become a dead silence. Late at night, Gu Qinghan drove alone to the riverbank. The car window was wide open, letting in the cold wind. It tangled her hair. On the passenger seat was a craft paper bag. Inside were all of my designs from over the years. From Paris Fashion Week to domestic jewelry exhibitions, not a single one was missing. Her trembling fingers caressed those photos. In every photo, I was smiling so brightly. In the days without her, I was living very well. Gu Qinghan took out her phone. The screen was on my social media profile page. The latest status was posted 3 days ago. The new collection Rebirth is about to be released. Thank you to all who love me. The attached photo was of me and Jiang Yueshu. The two of us were standing by the Seine River, our fingers intertwined. Gu Qinghan's vision blurred. She slowly pressed the accelerator. The speedometer needle kept climbing. The waves on the river's surface glistened under the moonlight, just like the crushed diamonds on my wedding dress. To Mobai. She softly called my name, letting go of the steering wheel. If there is a next life. The black car shot forward like an arrow from a bow. It broke through the guardrail and plunged straight into the icy river water. We interrupt this program with a breaking news report. Early this morning, a black car fell into the Linjiang River. Salvage operations are underway. According to the license plate information, the owner is suspected to be the CEO of the GU Corporation, Gu Qinghan, in a basement at the other end of the city. Yang Taiwei stared at the news on his phone and suddenly burst into crazed laughter. She's dead! She's really dead! He laughed until tears streamed down his face, smudging his heavy makeup. On the table was an unused dagger. He hadn't even had the chance to kill her with his own hands, but it didn't matter. She finally went to hell. Then he choked and coughed violently. Captain Chen Mo of the criminal investigation team stared at the autopsy report. His brows were tightly furrowed. The brake line has a clean cut, clearly severed by someone. The medical examiner pointed to the photo. This wasn't an accident, it was murder. Surveillance cameras quickly identified a suspect. 3 days before the incident, Yang Taiwei had appeared at the garage Gu Qinghan frequented. He was wearing a baseball cap and carrying a toolbox. He loitered in front of Gu Qinghan's car for a long time. When the police stormed that dark basement, Yang Taiwei was laughing loudly at the financial news on TV. The screen was broadcasting news of the GU Corporation's bankruptcy liquidation. You've come. Just in time, he frantically waved a pair of scissors. Watch me cut Gu Qinghan's wedding photo to pieces. Countless magazines were scattered on the bed. Every photo was stabbed full of holes. In the courtroom, Yang Taiwei wore an orange prison uniform. Traces of brake fluid were still under his fingernails. I originally intended to do it myself. He tilted his head and smiled. Too bad she died so quickly. When the judge read the verdict, the spectator seats were empty. The relatives who used to flatter the Gu family, the young masters and ladies who used to praise Yang Taiwei, were now nowhere to be found. The judge's gavel fell. Yang Taiwei suddenly rushed towards the railing. Where is Mo Bai? Tell him to come and see me. Make a fool of myself. The only response he got was the cold click of police handcuffs. The freezer in the morgue hummed. For the third time, an employee called the number of the Gu family's patriarch. Finally, a distant cousin answered. Do whatever you want with it. This person is no longer part of the Gu family. The notification to claim the body was sent to my address in Paris, but it was returned unopened by Jiang Yueshu. When the deadline came, it was drizzling that day. A funeral home intern pushed a gurney down a long hallway. Half of a pale hand was visible from under the white sheet. How pitiful, the intern said to the old cremator operator. I heard she used to be a very powerful figure. The operator pressed the button. No matter how powerful someone is, they're all the same after cremation. The eco-cemetery was located in a suburban valley. An employee mixed the ashes in the lake, carried by the wind towards the valley. 3 months later, Paris Fashion Week. My new collection, Nirvana, closed the show. The model on the runway wore a fiery red long dress. On the hem, a phoenix embroidered with gold thread spread its wings as if to fly. When the curtain fell, the entire audience stood up and applauded. Backstage, Jiang Yueshu fastened a lapel pin for me. It was one half of a golden butterfly wing. The other half is with me, she said softly. Put them together, and it's a complete life. The plane trees on both banks of the Seine sprouted fresh green buds. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting dreamlike, dappled shadows on the stone pavement. I stood on the balcony of my office, holding a cup of hot tea. watching the distant river sparkle, lost in thought. From behind came the sound of familiar footsteps. A cashmere shawl was gently draped over my shoulders. "What are you thinking about?" Jiang Yueshu stood beside me. Her voice was as gentle as a spring breeze passing by my ear. I turned my head to look at her. The sunlight cast a golden outline on her deep features. Those eyes, always filled with a smile, were looking at me intently. "I'm thinking." I pursed my lips and smiled softly. "The first time we met, you asked me about the inspiration for that red dress." Jiang Yueshu raised an eyebrow. "Breaking out of the cocoon?" I looked towards the Eiffel Tower in the distance. Thinking back now, perhaps starting from that moment, I had already, before I could finish. Jiang Yueshu suddenly took out an exquisite velvet box. A diamond ring shone brightly in her palm. "To Mobai," her voice was slightly hoarse. "I'm not good with sweet words, but I want to use the rest of my life to prove that your future, every single second of it, deserves to be treated gently." A gentle breeze blew through my long hair. The diamond on the ring reflected a brilliant light. It turns out true happiness never needed to be earth-shattering, just a companion and a sincere heart. I held out my hand. A tear fell on the diamond ring. Our wedding was held on the hill of Montmartre. There was no extravagant display, only our closest family and friends. I wore a suit I designed myself. A golden butterfly was embroidered on the lapel. Under the sunlight, it looked as if it was about to take flight. Jiang Yueshu stood under a plane tree. A young green leaf rested on her shoulder. When we exchanged rings, Jiang Yueshu's hands were trembling violently. She almost dropped the ring on the ground. The guests laughed good-naturedly, but I suddenly pulled her into my arms and placed a kiss on her lips. "Don't be nervous, Miss Jiang," I winked. "The rest of our lives is very long. You can slowly get used to it." A plane tree leaf drifted down with the wind, landing right on our marriage certificate, like a seal of fate, stamping its approval on this new life. One night while working overtime, I fell asleep on my design table. When I woke up, I found a fleece blanket draped over me by Jiang Yueshu. She was sitting opposite me. Her expression was gentle. Hearing a sound, she looked up, her eyes behind her glasses curving gently. "You're awake? Let's go home." I rubbed my eyes, and suddenly grabbed a pencil to sketch quickly on the drawing board. A moment later, the design of a woman's dress appeared on the paper. The collar was unconventionally embroidered with half a golden butterfly. "Your birthday present." I smiled and pushed the drawing over. "The other half is in my show tomorrow." Jiang Yueshu looked at me intently. She suddenly came around the table and picked me up, spinning me around amidst the surrounding designs. "My great designer," she touched her forehead to mine and whispered, "Are you declaring your sovereignty over all of Paris?" Outside the window, the melodious sound of an accordion drifted from a cruise on the Seine. The fulfillment of this moment was enough to erase all the suffering of the first half of my life.